We're surrounded by all these massive crises, right? Climate, political stuff, social breakdown. It can feel totally overwhelming, like 100 different problems all at once. But what if I told you they all come from the same place? That's what we're digging into today. This really powerful metaphor. The idea that our entire modern world is basically a house. And, well, that house is in some serious trouble.
So just imagine for a second. What if everything you think of as the modern world, our economies, our governments, even the way we're taught to think, what if all of that was just one single giant house?
And what if that house, the only one we've ever really lived in, is collapsing? You can see the cracks forming in the walls. You can feel the floor shaking. It's starting to crumble under its own weight. And that is the heart of what we're talking about today. Okay, so here's the core problem. This house of modernity, it's just gotten way too big for its own good. I mean, it's grown so massive that it's literally bigger than the plot of land it's sitting on. It's sucking up way too many resources and pumping out way too much waste, and it's starting to mess up the very ground it stands on. And that's why this metaphor is so useful. It's a shortcut, really. Instead of getting bogged down in climate change here and political polarization over there, we can just step back and look at the entire house. And when you do that, you start to see how all these cracks, all these problems, are totally connected.
So if we want to understand why it's collapsing, we got to look at how it was built in the first place, right? So let's do that. Let's take a quick tour of this house of modernity, and we're going to start right where you should, with the foundation.
All right, the foundation. Everything, and I mean everything, in this house is built on one big idea: separability. It's this deep-seated belief that humans are somehow separate from nature. Not just separate, but better, superior. And once you believe that, everything changes. Nature isn't alive anymore. It's just a resource. It's stuff. And that creates a power dynamic, a hierarchy, right from the get-go.
And this is what that looks like in practice. Because of that foundation, you get this huge split. On one side, you've got humans. We're the owners. We're the ones who create value. We're at the top of the food chain, so to speak. And on the other side, you've got nature, which gets demoted to just property. A bunch of resources just sitting there, waiting for us to use them up. Okay, so holding up the house, we've got our first major structural wall, the modern nation-state. Now, we're taught to think of governments as being there to protect people. But if you look at how the system actually works, its main job, its real priority, is to protect property and capital. When push comes to shove, the system is designed to protect capital, even if it means sacrificing people's well-being. And the second big wall holding this thing up is something called Enlightenment humanism. Now, this isn't just about celebrating science and reason. It's about a very specific story, a single story of progress that was treated as the only story. And what it did historically was just steamroll over countless other ways of seeing the world. There's actually a word for this: epistemicide. It literally means the killing of knowledge systems. Other worldviews were just erased, labeled primitive or backwards.
And then we get to the roof that's currently on the house: speculative capitalism. And folks, this roof is leaky as heck. It's structurally unsound. Why? Because it has only one purpose: maximize profit. That's it. For who? For mostly anonymous shareholders we'll never meet. There's no accountability, no brakes. It's just a giant engine designed to extract and consume faster and faster. And look, whether it's through our credit cards or our retirement funds, pretty much all of us are part of this engine. So there you have it. You've got a foundation of separation, walls built to protect capital, and a roof designed for endless growth. Is it any surprise that the whole structure is starting to groan under the pressure? The cracks are starting to show, and you can't ignore them anymore. They're appearing both outside the house and right inside it.
So on the outside, the damage is on a planetary scale. I mean, this is the big stuff. The house's constant hunger for resources and the mountains of waste it produces. Well, that's what's driving climate destabilization, the collapse of entire ecosystems, and yeah, even the intense social division and hyperpolarization we're all feeling. But the really wild part? The cracks are showing up inside the house, too. For all the stuff we're consuming, for all the progress, the house isn't even making the people inside it feel good. We're seeing record levels of anxiety and depression. Housing is unaffordable. Our political systems are a mess. The system just isn't delivering on its most basic promise: a good life. Okay, so this brings us to the big what now moment.
We can all see the cracks. We know the house is unsustainable, so the real question becomes, what do we do about it? How do we respond? Well, it seems like there are basically three main choices on the table. Option one, we try to fix the house. This is the tech will save us approach. Slap some solar panels on the roof, invent some new gadget, and hope we can keep living the way we are. Option two, we try to replace the house. This is the big revolutionary idea. Let's get everyone to agree on a perfect blueprint for a totally new system and build that instead. And then there's option three, which is different. It's the idea that we should compost the house. Basically, prepare for the collapse, learn from what went wrong, and let something new grow from the ruins. I want to spend a minute on that third path because it's the one that really challenges us. It suggests that maybe the problem isn't just the house's architecture. Maybe the problem is us, the inhabitants. That it's not about building something different, but about becoming someone different. It's about what it takes to actually step outside the walls that we've lived in our entire lives. Because here's the kicker. This perspective says the biggest collapse we're facing isn't out there. It's not financial. It's not even environmental. It's psychological. It's inside us. The way our minds are wired, our emotional habits, how we've been taught to see the world from inside this house, none of it has prepared us for what's coming. We're just not equipped. So if our current wiring is the problem, where on earth do we find a different way to be? Well, maybe we don't have to invent it. Maybe we just have to remember. Think about this number for a second. 120. 120. That's about how many how many grandmothers you have if you just go back 7 generations. Now, what if you could tap into the wisdom they held? What if your ancestors, all 120 of those grandmothers from just the last few hundred years, could help? I mean, a lot of them lived completely outside this house of modernity. Their worldview wasn't built on separation. And maybe, just maybe, by connecting with that, we can find the courage we need to get off this treadmill and make different choices. Choices that are about resilience and connection, not just about endless, mindless growth. This whole path is really about a deep internal shift. It's not enough to just agree intellectually, oh yeah, humans are part of nature. It's about moving from an idea of connection to a felt experience of it, to actually sense in your bones that you're part of this larger living world. And that's not something you can get from a book, it's something you have to cultivate. And this all leads to a really powerful new take on a word that makes a lot of us uncomfortable: surrender. Now, this doesn't mean giving up or being passive, not at all. It's an active alignment with what's actually happening. It's about having the wisdom and the courage to stop fighting a reality you can't control and instead learn how to move with it. Which leaves us with one final big question for you. If the house you've always lived in is collapsing around you, what are you going to do? If you can't fix it, and you can't just build a new one overnight, will you have the courage to learn to dance in the rubble? Because maybe that's the real challenge. And maybe, just maybe, that's our greatest opportunity.